really is what matters. I call it the say-do gap. You could say the words, but if you're not doing it, there's inauthenticity. We are truly being authentic and drinking our own champagne when we talk about it, when we bring it to our clients. The BRT statement, it was really nice to see. It was very natural for our current chairman to sign it, along with about 200 other CEOs. And it validated for us that we were no longer, at least when it comes to big organizations, really big organizations, on the journey alone. And that there was really now a commitment to change the way people looked at and accounted for purpose. In our journey, there were a couple of recent aha moments that we realized that are very, very important. I alluded to one earlier, that purpose alone is not a magic bullet, and it never belongs in a conversation by itself. Purpose plus vision plus long-term value, when you look at that equation, that is the power equation. That's the one that if you really want to make a difference in the world for all of your stakeholders, that's the equation that's necessary when you think about high strategy. The second thing that we've noticed in our journey, the aha moment, is that if you want to be an organization that claims to be purpose and vision led, you need to be led by leaders who themselves are purpose and vision led, which means developing a platform and program around personal purpose and vision. And I really believe that Tal and I and EY are leading innovation globally around this, both how it fits in, or what we call is nested to organizational purpose and vision, how you do it using digital virtual technology at scale, and in embedding it into the DNA of how we build and train leaders and all of our people.
And I love that you mentioned that part, because we've spent a lot of time talking about the importance of connecting individual purpose to the broader organization. But I think you had mentioned this idea of kind of nesting, and that there's an intermediary, there's the team and the kind of the nest that you're in, if you will. And that's so important to connect the purpose as well.
We do. Just on that point, we've actually have data through our own internal surveys that show that pre some of the creation of nested purposes of our service lines and divisions, at some point, the enthusiasm about being a purpose-led organization wore off, and there wasn't as much excitement or enthusiasm. As soon as we began to create this nested idea, you felt that you belonged to a unique tribe within the organization, and you could really connect your everyday work to building a better working world. How did someone in the customer practice come to work every day and do customer things? How were they building a better working world? That connection was really hard to make. But when you create a nested purpose at the functional level, and then more than that, understand your personal purpose and can align that with the daily work that you do in support of building a better working world, you really get employee engagement, you get employee productivity, and it drives innovation, because now suddenly you could see how no matter what role you have, even if it's at a junior level, the things you're doing are helping to build a better working world.
And I love how you're basically sharing pretty practical advice of how do you make this come alive in a culture and to come alive for individuals. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how you do that and kind of in the operational running of your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. It comes down to a little bit of what you were just talking about, Stacia, and that's really the way we look at it is proximity to the individual. At the macro organizational level, our purpose is building a better working world. And we know that discovering and activating each person's personal purpose and personal vision is also important, but there's something in the middle there, right? It's how do you get closer proximity to the individual and the work that they're doing. And so what we were just talking about of, having nested purposes, many of our businesses and practices have articulated their own nested purpose. And that helps our people connect from their personal purpose to the nested purpose. And that's all in service to the overall purpose of building a better working world. And there's a really nice, Jeff had mentioned this golden thread idea. There's also a really nice golden thread when you can, articulate your personal purpose and personal vision, because we talked about personal vision we think it's a really important dimension here. Connecting that to a nested purpose of what your team, your broader team is doing, and overall connecting that to building a better working world. So we think that's a really important. I'll just mention a couple other things, which is we've had a lot of amazing support from some of our more senior and most senior executives, many of whom have discovered and articulated their own personal purpose and vision, and they've been using it in their communications and in their decision making and talking about the fact that they've been using their personal purpose and their vision in their decision making. And as we know, people social model, right? Those around them and their leaders. So there's this natural movement that we see beginning. And the last thing I'll mention is a few years ago, we reimagined and challenged ourselves around what the attributes are of the best leaders. Many organizations have leadership models. So we took a step back. Ours was good and it was fine a number of years ago, but less fit for purpose these days. Organizational culture and workforces have changed. And we said, we need to reimagine our leadership model. And we put purpose and vision at the core. And we did that because we wanted to serve as a reminder to everyone that it all starts with your personal purpose and vision. And because how do you lead others if you don't know how to lead yourself first? And we use this model in lots of ways. We use it from career conversations to feedback and even to promotion evaluations. And so these are just a few examples how we're using our purpose operationally. It's influencing how we work and how we operate.
I know that you've both mentioned a couple times purpose and how it's a little bit different than vision. And so I'm wondering, this seems like a good opportunity to kind of dive into that. So can you tell us a little bit about how you all see those things differently and related?
Purpose, whether it's personal purpose or organizational purpose is about what gives you great fulfillment. It's what gives you great meaning. It's that, that feeling that you get when you come home after a very difficult day and you still feel good. You might have had even a tough day, tough conversations or bad news or whatever it might be, but you still feel a feeling of fulfillment. And the question is, why do you feel that fulfillment? Well, probably because the work that you had done was very much aligned to your purpose, or as part of your organization, you accomplished something for your customers or your clients or for the world. And that's rooted in your past. Purpose is generally rooted in your past. It's based on origin stories. Now, by contrast, vision is generally a forward and future looking thing. It's a description of the impact that you as an organization or you as an individual want to have in the world. And that impact in that world is, different for everybody. For some people, it's the immediate circle around them. For other people, it's a bit of a wider circle. And, yet for other people, it's the entire world, right? I mean, we can all think about people who we consider visionaries in the world, and they truly are impacting the world. You don't have to be a visionary to have a vision. You just have to have a view and articulation of the impact that you as an organization or you as an individual want to have in the world.
For years, this idea of fulfillment has been questioned and what makes up fulfillment. And we think that personal purpose and personal vision and organizational purpose are part of what gives daily meaning to the work that you do, daily meaning. So in many ways, personal purpose is about daily meaning and daily fulfillment, purpose is about daily meaning and daily fulfillment, and vision is about daily inspiration. Inspiration about what? That we have a hopeful or optimistic future. And when you understand that, you can yield these two tools, right, in the proper way to create the cultural mindsets, to create the strategies. But they're two very different tools when wielded by experts.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I've never seen it described in that sort of temporal, forward-looking, backward-looking way, but I really get it. There was another sort of definition question that it might make sense based on something you said, Jeff. You said something like purpose alone doesn't get you where you need to be. There is long-term value and business operations. I can't remember. Could you repeat that piece for me and just maybe unpack it a little bit?
So what I'm about to say might sound a little heretical, coming from the guy who built his career at EY on being the purpose guy at first. But here's what we now have come to believe, and I alluded to it earlier. The future is inevitable. Tomorrow, you and I, all of us will wake up personally, and we will be there tomorrow. And tomorrow, every organization has another day in the organization. It's unavoidable. It's inevitable. Planning for the future, if you want to be successful, is required, right? Any CEO who's ever hired by the board, I guarantee you, although I've never been in any of those conversations, has been asked, where can you take us, right? What can we do to get there? Purpose is completely optional, right? You can be a very successful person or organization if you plan for your future effectively and build the roadmap to get there. Right. And we all do that in our lives, whether we know it or not. If in high school you decide you want to go to medical school, you have to study certain topics, you have to get certain grades, you have to go to certain schools, and you build a plan to get there. It's the same thing with your personal life now, each of you, all of us, and also as a business. but purpose is optional. We happen to believe that organizations that will be the most successful over the long term build both a purpose and a vision strategy, a future strategy, because you have to, and a current strategy around purpose that is really important in today's age. Why? Because given the way millennials and Gen Zs value purpose, if you want to attract and retain those employees, you really better have a purpose strategy. Given the fact, at least, and I know we may talk about this later, but we're in the middle of a pandemic where the meaning of work and the meaning of life and the meaning of relationships has completely changed. People are looking for more meaning in their lives. People are looking for purpose in their lives today and a vision for the future. You better be an organization, in our opinion, that has both. Right.
One of the things that we've talked about a bit with the research is how, with these changing workforce dynamics, and particularly some of the things you mentioned around the social justice movements and others, but also around things like gig work, where you can work, anytime, any place. The question becomes, what is the value of an organization to an individual? By joining an organization and putting on some level of the constraints that you have, particularly with a big organization, what do I get? And I feel like my answer, at least to that question, is if it's a purpose-driven organization, you become a part of something that is much bigger than yourself, that enables you to accomplish in your kind of same purpose-driven approach, your personal purpose, but at scale. And to me, that seems to be one of the big reasons, one of the most compelling reasons to join a high-quality organization.
I think that's true, Stacia, if the company is doing their purpose gig as opposed to just saying it, right? Because purpose is so popular today, Tal and I have coined a phrase, there's a lot of purpose malpractice. Right, that's going on. And purpose malpractice is when you'll attract an employee to go for the reasons that you just described. But when you get there, it's just not true, right? The covenant doesn't exist between the company and the person to deliver on the promise. What's the promise? You're going to work hard for me as an organization, and I'm going to care about you. And I'm going to do things that demonstrate I care about you. Now, this is different from a gig now worker. A gig now worker, typically, they'll do the job for the organization, you'll get paid, and you'll move on. Companies with employees have a real opportunity, and this is one of the things that Tal's team does in learning and development, is be on my agenda. Help me learn things that I care about, that is advancing my personal purpose, my personal vision, right? Work with clients who align with building a better working world, but the things I believe in, help me get in on projects that align that. So we believe that when a company, that the covenant between the company, when that exists and you join a purposeful company and they do for you what they promise and you do for them what they promise, then you could really begin to change.
Let's turn a little bit to the relationship between you two and how you all collaborate and what opportunities are really created by aligning Tal, your internal perspective and mission with the customer-facing mission of Jeff.
Yeah, I think it's a really great and unique collaboration. We've built programs, whether it's to help with organizational purpose and vision that we use internally for the various businesses within EY, and we've built personal purpose and vision discovery programs that we offer to all of our people. And the key here is that with any programs, what often makes programs stronger is continual feedback. And the more feedback we get, the stronger a program gets. And we've been running the programs internally for a few years. And then collaborating with Jeff, we began offering the same programs to our clients. And with each offering of the program, whether it's internally or externally, we get more feedback and makes the programs that much better and that much stronger. We have the benefit of running the programs with thousands of people within EY, which provides us with great insights on what works and what could be better. And when we iterate the program, and we've done that many times, and then offered it to clients and get even more diversity and more range of thinking around what works and what works well and what could be better. And so we have the EY culture that informs the design. And then we have now the benefit of running the programs in many other organizational cultures. And with each offering, we strengthen the program and continue to strengthen the programs. We learn something every time. So it's, Jeff, I don't know what you'd share here, but it's fantastic.
I agree. It's been an amazing personal journey for me in getting to both work with Tal and make an impact both ways, right? It's not usual that you can make the impact inside and out in that way, and both of us do that. The other cool thing is this creates a huge competitive advantage for us in talking with clients. Why? Because when we're in pitches, there are very few organizations that are pitching or responding to purpose and vision and long-term value work